In this video, we're going to talk about string processing. In particular, we're going to look at several different ways in which you can manipulate strings in order to provide interesting and useful text messages to the user. So at this point in the course, we've seen strings several times, okay? And we've mostly seen them in the context of printing information out to the console. Now this makes sense, right? Strings are just text, so they're very useful for conveying information to the user. Now while this isn't the only reason why you might use strings, it is probably the most common. All right, so I have three strings here, and you'll remember that I can use both single and double quotes to represent a string. All right, I want to print them out, and each print statement will print out a single line, and everything that's separated by commas will be printed on the same line, separated by a space. So let's see if this does what I expect. Why did that not work? Well, let's look here. We've got a single quote inside of this string that is surrounded by single quotes. Well, that's not going to work because it thought the string ended early, and then there was extra stuff. This is the whole reason that Python allows you to use both single or double quotes to surround a string. This way, if I have a single quote inside the string, I just use double quotes, and everything works as expected. Similarly, I could change this to a double quote. Well, this doesn't make any sense, but if I do that, I can put single quotes around it, and everything will work just fine. Now, obviously, that was pretty funny, right? Oh, okay, maybe not. All right, so let's go back to a reasonable, if not accurate sentence. Okay, and you can see here that this is basically how I can use string literals. And we've seen this before. I just wanted to remind you. Now, I can also combine strings. Okay, I can type Warren and Rixner are nuts, right? And if I do that, okay, I end up with one big string. So oftentimes in a program, you're not going to know the exact string that you want ahead of time, so you're going to have a bunch of different strings that you combine together. And you can do this with the plus operator. And we know that plus, in addition, will just add two numbers. Well, it'll also add two strings. And what does it mean to add two strings? Well, as you can see here, it just puts them together one after the other. All right? And there's no reason why these couldn't have been variables, right? If I say A equals and, okay, I can put that in the middle of this sentence. Okay, and everything just works just fine, right? There's no difference. Okay? All right, so I can compose strings by combining them with the addition operator. I can also get pieces of strings. So what is at location 0 in S1? We have to actually print that to get anything useful. All right, and you can see I get the character R. All right, so what does that mean? Well, computer scientists are crazy, okay, and we start counting with 0. All right, so the 0th element of string S1, the 0th character, is R. Okay, the first character is I, second character is X, and so on, okay, and that's all obvious. Now, Python has a little shortcut to get to the last character, so if I can't remember how long my string is, I can type -1, and you'll see that I get Y. I'm getting the end of that string with -1. And I can do -2, and then I'll get N, I'll get the second to last character, and so on, right? Also, if you want to know how long the string is, you can use len. So that'll tell me S1 has 14 characters. So that means that I can also get the last character by putting 13 in there. I want to also point out, though, you can't go past the end. So there is no 14th character. I'm going to get an error, index error. The string index is out of range. And the same is true if I use negative to try and go off the starting in the back, I'll get an index error, okay, if I try to use a number that's too big. All right, so let's put this back to something reasonable. Okay, so that's interesting. I can pull out any particular character out of the string that I'd like. I can also pull out what's called a slice. So let's take a slice here, 0:7. Okay, all right. What do I get there? Oh, Rixner apostrophe. Let's think about that. There are 6 characters in my name, Rixner, plus the apostrophe is 7 characters. So I might have expected 0 to 7 would have given me Rixners, but it didn't. Okay, why? In Python, in this slicing notation, it means go from character 0 up to but not including character 7. So if I wanted Rick Snurs, I have to do 8 to get the first 8 characters. Okay, and you can see that the additional S shows up. All right. So I could use this. Let's build up some strings. Let's 6 colon. Now I want all of string S2 starting at character 6 and ending at the end. So Python allows me with these slices to have this special notation where if I put nothing after the colon, all right, I get all the way up to the end. Oh, hey, we finally got a sentence that makes sense, right? Okay, print S2 colon. I can do the same thing with the beginning. That says all the characters starting at the beginning up to but not including 13. 9 colon plus S3. All right. Okay, now we're getting some more accurate sentences. So hopefully you can see that I can pull out pieces of strings, I can add them together, I can manipulate them in this way. I can figure out the length if I need to, and I can print out single characters. Now, sometimes you have integers or you have strings and you want to convert them back and forth. Okay, so I can actually let me turn an integer into a string. Okay, I use the stir function to do that. Okay, so let's do this. You can see that this prints out 375. It's pretty tough to tell. Is that a string or is that a number? Well, I'll prove to you it's a string. Okay. I'll print out a slice of it, and you'll see I get 75. Okay, if it were a number, I could not use this bracket notation and get anything out of it. Right? I can also convert this back to an integer. Let's say that I1 equals int S5 1. Okay, print I1. All right, and what that has done is that has taken that slice, 75, converted it back into an int with the int function, and now I'll prove to you that I have an integer because I can add a number to it. Right, I couldn't do that to a string, and I get 113. Okay, so this shows some of the different things that I can do with strings. So let's put this together to create a simple function that formats a string. Okay, I want to write a function convert that takes one argument, val, and it converts it into a nice string that tells me how many dollars and cents are represented by that number. So let's run this. Okay, so I give it 11.23 and it prints out $11.23. How does it do that? Well, the first line takes the int of val, so it takes the floating point number 11.23, gets rid of the fractional part, returns 11. That's the number of dollars. The second line here figures out how many cents I have by subtracting dollars from val. That gives me the fractional part, 0.23 in this case. Multiply it by 100 to give me 23 and take the integer portion in case it had more fractional digits. That gives me the cents. And then I use the stir function and string addition to build up my string $11.23. Okay, great. Looks good. Now, a common error that beginning programmers make is they look at this and they say, yeah, this is perfect, this works, and they move on with their life, and well, we've got a broken function here, right? You can probably guess there were a bunch of other tests here. There must be something going on. So let's run it with these additional tests. All right, the second one, 11.20, prints out $11.19. What the heck is going on there? All right, 1.12 prints out $1.12. Shouldn't it be $1.12? I got $12.00, even though it was 12.01. I got $0.01. Why am I printing out $0? I got $0.00 for no money, and so on. All right, this program has some problems, okay? So this isn't such a great program. This is why you should always test your program with more than one input. Okay, I need to fix this simple convert function to make it work a little bit better and talk about strings here. Okay, so let me just run some tests here, and you can see that now 11.20 prints out $11.20. 1.12 prints out $1.12. Okay, I've got $1.01, just 1 cent, $1. And if I have no money, the computer nicely tells me I'm broke. I don't know if I should be happy or sad about that. Anyway, okay, this is a much better convert function. You see, it's a little bit more complicated as well. Okay, so I still have convert taking one argument, val. Right? And I get dollars exactly the same way. I just get rid of the fractional part. Now, to figure out cents, I have this statement here. I use a round function instead of actually using int. Okay, and I leave it to you to go look at the documentation, but this takes care of the fact that floating point numbers aren't always exactly what you expect them to be. They're often very slightly off, okay, and the round function will take care of it. It'll round the number for you, okay? Now, I need to convert both of these things to strings, and I would like it to not say dollars if I only have one, and I'd like it not to say cents if I only have 1 cent. This is a prime candidate for writing a function because I have to do exactly the same thing in both cases. Okay, so I've written a function called convert units that actually takes the value and it takes the name that I'm trying to print. So in this case, the name is either dollar or cent. It concatenates the result, right? It turns the value into string, adds the name, and then only if the value is greater than 1 does it add the s. Okay, so this is going to handle whether it should be dollar or dollars and cents or cent. Okay, then I have a big conditional here, all right, that's going to check, do I actually have any dollars? Do I actually have any cents? And it's going to selectively print out whether I have dollars, whether I have cents, or whether I'm sad because I'm broke. In this video, we learned that you can do more with strings than just specify them in your program and print them out to the console. You can take pieces of them, you can combine pieces of them, you can even write complex conditional statements in order to build up strings that are appropriate for your program. Now, I'll let you decide who's funny, who's nuts, who wears t-shirts, who wears ties, but I do hope you learned something about string processing. And by the way, my program told me that I was broke. Did you all pay Coursera yet? Because they never sent me a check. Should I be worried about that?